Now, we've got an opportunity for some questions and also sort of set the scene for the conference. What are the big issues? What are the things that we should be talking about as a group? So if you've got any ideas, and from the international or our streaming audience, if you have any questions, come through and we'll try and tackle those if they're up and running. So if there are any questions on the discussions or any sort of broader matters you'd like to raise, I guess I've been coming to ADU for a long time, and it's about promoting Australian companies, helping them raise capital and explore and bring mines on in Africa. And just listening to Tim's presentation, and a sort of question without notice, Tim, but I mean, you're in Madagascar, you've got a great project, but you're following in the footsteps of a couple of big mines that haven't delivered necessarily what they thought they were going to deliver. How do you manage everyone's expectations? So you've got a government there that's probably looking to you. How do you position yourself and manage expectations to do and deliver what you need to deliver?
I guess the key learning from us from the Kwale experience, and anyone who's been active in Africa knows that expectations start high and they just get higher. So we've learnt to be absolutely transparent as much as possible. So our engagement with the government in Madagascar is very much an open book. We've been sharing with them, the DFS, working them through it, helping them understand the economics, understanding the limitations of what is possible to still have a project that's robust and successful. One of the challenges in our case in Madagascar is that there is still this very deep suspicion of mining companies, and that they haven't yielded the results they've yielded because the mining companies are up to something. They're either under declaring or whatever. They can't understand how something like Gambatovi has been running for the best part of 10 years and has never made a profit and hasn't paid tax. So how is it that you're continuing to operate? And so we've kind of focused on trying to bring them inside the tent and help them understand that. And it has been a big part of that focus, is just being real and realistic about it.
Thanks, Tim. Question from the audience? Over there, Don.
Thank you. Just before we go on to those wider discussions, Stuart, can I just ask you clarification on the Tabakoroni underground? You said that they go through the oxide plant. Is it mainly oxides in the Tabakoroni underground, or would you convert it to treat sulfides?
No, it's sulfides, and we'd need to convert that plant. So that's a big part of that whole feasibility study, is the conversion of the oxide plant so that it can take those sulfides on.
So what are the big issues that we should be thinking about? Is it COVID? Is it ESG? I mean, you get to a certain size and you seem to be overwhelmed with all of those requirements now with the funds and ticking a lot of boxes, but it's not tokenism, it's something that you have to do. But in terms of managing COVID, I'd be interested in, I mean, Allan, you said it's almost non-existent in Tanzania. I'm sure it's active in Mali, but I'd be interested with the difference between, say, Stuart's approach and your experience in Mali, and Tim, how you've managed it in Kenya. Maybe Stuart.
I've got the microphone, righto. Yeah, look, from our perspective, we've obviously got two mine sites. Mali, the Siama mine site's got a significant workforce there, and also the Mako mine site. But it's not the first time that we've dealt with pandemic-style issues. So we've had Ebola crisis that's flowed through, and we have the seasonal type malaria issues that we also need to deal with. So in many respects, it was. As someone fairly new to Resolute coming in, there was a dusting off of the old playbook and to implement those measures, and those measures were then also supplemented as we got more information around COVID and how to handle that, and it's been a continual thing, right? So the really important thing that we've tried to do is to ensure it doesn't actually get onto site in the first place. So therefore we have all the necessary monitoring equipment for people who are coming onto site to ensure that we don't, whether it's a fuel delivery or explosives delivery or people coming back in, then they all need to go through that process. Cameras, we have test kits that are on site now, and all of those sorts of things. But it's the simple things. It's the distancing. It's washing your hands. It's keeping, making sure that you just manage, as we did at the start of this, the whole distancing program.
Sure. Tim, how's your experience?
We've taken a very similar approach in trying to obviously keep it off-site and putting in place all manner of measures around that. We've had 5 positive tests out of 1,000 people on site, and when we've done the contract tracing for all of those people, there hasn't been anyone who has tested positive, so we haven't had any transmission on site. Now, officially in Kwale County, where we operate, and there's 750,000 people in Kwale County, there have been about 200 cases of COVID. But if you look at the testing they do of all the blood donations across Kwale County, there's quite a well-established blood bank and blood system. Between 4 and 5% of all samples have tested positive for COVID antibodies. So there's a vastly greater number of people who have had it, and it's washed over them, and it hasn't resulted in any symptoms whatsoever. I mean, as of yesterday, there were, I think, 2 cases in hospitals in Kwale County. So it's prevalent, it's there, but very few people, for whatever reason, certainly in our zone, seem to be displaying any symptoms.
Great, thanks, Tim. Question, Alistair, I guess you're looking at making Marilla great again. What do you see as the biggest challenge ahead of you over the next 12 months?
Is it on? Yeah. Very simple. I think that technical issues, when you look at them, understand them, the solutions present themselves. In an operation like this, I think the main issue is execution. As I said in the presentation, we don't have mining people, we don't have geology people. We're building those teams. The challenge for us in COVID is that we met a lot of the team back in February, March, when we were doing due diligence, when we could last travel. And our relationship has now been established through Zoom calls or whatever, and that's very different from being, having genuine personal relationships. So the biggest challenge for me is that distance that we have and just building that team back again. But the technical issues, I think they're all fun and they solve themselves with good people. There's plenty of expertise in Mali and here.
Thanks, Alistair. Yeah, Don.
Alistair, at Diggers and Dealers a couple of weeks ago, all the talk was of M&A, particularly in the gold space. Have you kicked off a new round of M&A in Africa, and is it something that we should be talking about this week? Absolutely.
I've, one way or another, from the very start of my career, was involved in a hostile bid for the company I had. A very simple view. If you're a single mine company, there's 2 things you should be thinking about. Who am I going to buy or who's going to buy me? Single mine companies, I don't have any future. They're an opportunity to really leverage and grow a business, either by having someone with better balance sheet than you coming along, or it's spreading the risk. The deal we did with Copper Mountain, with the copper asset in Queensland, was that very purpose: go to a better balance sheet and spread the risk. So I think M&A should be at the forefront of all of us, and let's get out there ahead of the Chinese and the Russians.
Well said. Well said. Allan, that funding package that you put forward on one of those slides, that shows innovation. The names that were there I hadn't seen around before, and it's an amazing package. I wouldn't mind if you could expand on how you arrived there, but also with critical minerals being so important, graphite's one of those. Everyone's trying to position themselves so they've got a supply outside of China. What love have you experienced from, say, North America trying to find graphite?
Yeah, so on the funding package, it's really evolved as a need to evolve. We found that it wasn't all that sensible to bring the debt package in at Walkabout level, and if we could bring it in at the asset level, that was much better. And so as a result of that merged itself, or aligned itself very well with the objectives that Tanzania was trying to achieve in being a Tanzanian company and having their mines be domestic companies. So we'll only now have the funding of equity loan account and the dividend account and a technical services arrangement between the 2 companies. And on the critical minerals list, well, we think that there's still a bit of evolution to occur there. The Americans have stated that the executive order that Donald Trump put out really is about finding mines in North America. I think they will soon see that it probably needs to stretch elsewhere in the world, and in that way it'll have some impact on what China's trying to do or was already doing, and so there will be a bit of confrontation and tension in that area. So I don't know if that answers what you...
Great. A question? Thank you.
Thanks, Carly. Mark from Paydirt. Just the general, anyone can probably take the question, but we've seen a lot of money being raised this year. Is that a trend? Do you see that flowing into 2021 in the next 12 months?
Alistair, you've just raised a bunch of cash.
Yeah, I mean, it's fantastic to see money flowing back into the sector, but raising money is never easy, and it's, markets are very fickle. One week you launch a raising, halfway through the next week it's turned against you. But clearly, people are willing to back stories. We're seeing that day in, day out here. That's been absent for a long time. I think Liam's spoken on that theme in the past. And it's just fantastic to see that risk capital's back again, because I think one of the things that we offer here in Western Australia is not only have we got the technical expertise, we've got the financial expertise. We can export capital, we can raise capital for these kind of things. And it's a real strength. When an Australian walks into Africa, we bring much more than just that. We often bring money if it's the right opportunity. So I hope it continues.
So just to finish maybe on some positiveness, given it looks like Donald Trump's going to get up, the good news is that he's going to spend $2 trillion on infrastructure in the United States. And if you're going to spend $2 trillion, that's going to mean you're going to need a lot of copper, a lot of steel. So, that's fabulous. If you're looking at COVID and in China, they've had 3 quarters of excellent growth. I think the GDP's up over 5%, and they've got the highest interest rates in 5 years in China. So it shows what you can do if you can get on top of COVID and turn around your economy. They're going gangbusters. So just think how the rest of the world's going to be positioned. We might be another 6 months to sort a vaccine out, but with 0 interest rates, all this spending, all this printing money, I think commodity prices will continue to go north. And in terms of an investor, I think the only place to put your money is in a mining stock. And there's a lot of upside with the miners that are here today. So, ladies and gentlemen, if there's no further questions, please put your hands together for the speakers.